everybody, it's Seth, Amped Electric Games. I'm here with one of my favorite riders in the world, Laxina.
How's it going, guys?
I'm interviewing all of the best EUC riders across the country, all the folks that are coming out to the Amped Electric Games. Law happens to be one of our VIP riders. This guy spends more time in the air than I think than he does on the ground. So the fact that you jump over everything, it seems like you use that quite a bit in your riding style.
Oh, for sure. Definitely what I try to emphasize with like local riders and people that I end up meeting is just being able to jump and pop over a curb. That makes a world of difference when you're riding. You're able to handle a wheel and be able to stay safe in the situations where if a pothole or if there's like a speed bump and you're going maybe 35, 40 miles an hour, you want to be able to at least get up maybe 2 or 3 inches and stay stable, stay controlled, just to be able to avoid that situation altogether. Rather, extra bit of control makes a world of difference.
You're able to pop on, pop off, right, go backwards, go forwards. It's just really amazing to me. I know a lot of people have been trying to ride backwards lately. And so to see somebody who does it so effortlessly is, right, I have to give you kudos for that.
Definitely with learning how to ride backwards, learning how to just move in general, something that I pay attention to is it's input versus output. So like say to ride backwards, you want to make sure that your legs are at midpoint or behind the midpoint of the wheel and making sure that your feet are still even with the wheel to make sure that your legs kind of act as like a reversed or as a shopping cart wheel. If your legs are too far forward and you're trying to ride backwards, sometimes you end up having more struggle in trying to stay stable just because said quote unquote shopping cart wheel would want to be flipping back on itself. Yep. It's those little details that I like to pay attention to. I have fun learning how to get a wheel moving around.
I find that you do a lot of technical riding, and I also like your ability to break down what somebody's doing wrong. I know that the last time I was here, you kind of got behind me and you were watching the way that I was carving a little bit, and you came up beside me and you said, "Now, I think you need to step into that carve a little bit more. Just really commit to it." Is that a tip that you often share with other riders?
All the time. So we say like with turning itself, so you have different forms of turning where you'd get the wheel on its side to help get that pivot. You can do a full body lean, but at the same time, the reason that the body lean works is because the wheel ends up following with it. So getting the wheel on its side is a huge difference. Your foot positioning on the wheel while you're doing that also makes a huge difference. If you're on gravel and you need to shift or like strafe over a little bit to the left, what you end up doing is put a little bit of pressure on your toe and on your left toe and right heel, and in doing so, that ends up having small vibrations in the wheel, and then that gets the wheel to shift a little bit in that direction to the left where you're kind of moving a little bit more sideways, and it makes that turn so much easier.
So being a technical rider, it just seems like it's just natural to you now. Did you have experiences in your life prior to this that led to you?
I grew up with martial arts, and then that's just a constant drilling of what is this, or why is like a punch so effective, and what muscles are making it work, and what kind of contact you need to do to emphasize and optimize that whole situation. Along with that, I used to do free line skates. Have you seen those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the little
free skates.
Yeah, it's like those little rollerblade skateboards had a baby, and then it's 2 little small decks with longboard wheels.
Yeah.
But I used to do that a lot when I was stationed back in Okinawa. I was in the Navy before. What else is it? There's random small hobbies I ended up picking up, and again, it's all the little dexterity things and just figuring out how movement works. It's fun.
It's interesting. You look at how you ride a motorcycle, and it's almost like counterintuitive to ride a motorcycle well, efficiently. Yeah. It's actually counterintuitive to what you would normally do.
Turn right to turn left to get the bike on its side.
Exactly, and that's what I think is so great about your ability to look at that technical aspect. And I think that you'll be a great addition to our VIPs because you'll be able to kind of help the other VIP, having somebody else that can say, you know what, you just need to do this and you're going to be there.
Of course. Yeah, like even with setting up pads, say like one of my problems with Gotway wheels is everything's just a straight up rectangle. Yeah. Again, something that you want to do is create a little bit of a shim to make your stance more ergonomic. That already for a lot of like newer riders, you end up seeing them like being a little bit shaky because they end up pinning their feet a little bit too close to the wheel, right, and then they want their feet to be close to the wheel so they know where the wheel is underneath them. But then in doing so, having it too close, your legs bow out and you're using more muscles than you need just to be able to stay stable.
Yeah.
So again, what you end up doing is shimming the pads out a little bit, or shimming your feet out with like either pads or foam, whatever. And that creates a triangulated stance and creates a more natural, less stressing on your legs type of riding.
I also find that with the Gotway wheels, since they have such an aggressive dihedral angle to the pedals, it tends to really work the insides of the caps on
that can
some of the newer
affect people,
riders.
but it is also is beneficial to have the canted pedals, because what happens is if the pedals are flat, imagine you're just wearing socks on either a glass or a wooden floor. You have a much higher likelihood of your feet just, if say like the floor was like shaking a little bit, your feet would end up sliding off to the side. Whereas if you were standing in like a wooden bowl or something like that, then having that angle would allow for your feet to stay in place and keep them from shifting.
I often tell new riders, just get used to it. It's gonna be the best thing for you after all. I see a stack of tires over there. I see a bunch of tools here. And when I got here, I said, Law, my fan's not working on my RS. And what did Law do? He pulled out of his magic box here a green RS controller. So how did you become the repair guy for your group?
So what happened was with Las Vegas, like EUC crew really like initially starting to grow, maybe 3 years ago, whenever I guess we all started really picking up riding. We didn't have any repair guys, and before now we would have Yuko in Las Vegas, but prior to that we didn't really have anybody, so took a step up to pick up some tools and start working on everybody's wheels. First thing was having to get stuff to swap a control board, because I ended up smoking one of my old ones from MSP. But yeah, after that point it's just become the whole, oh, you broke your wheel? I guess we got to hit up Law. Yeah, I love working on people's wheels, and I love just helping out the community, because the community is infinitely more important than anything else for me with EUCs. And
I think that's awesome.
It just goes back to the community.
It's
I'm
great.
not trying to make anything off of this.
The feeling is that I get from other folks is that they're paid in the smiles
Oh no, for sure.
of the riders getting their wheel back. We just took a group ride out with some of his crew. We got out pretty early for that ride. I mean, it's pretty hot out there. Do you guys usually get out for your group rides fairly early or late, or how does that usually work?
So being in Las Vegas, we have a higher likelihood of getting our rides either super early in the morning or super late at night. It just depends on what time of season or what time of year really it is.
So while we were out on that group ride, you showed me like a drag strip area. Is that?
Oh, we rode through this little wash area, dropping down and back up and through it. You end up finding yourself in a series of tunnels. Inside those tunnels, we end up finding ourselves doing a little bit of drag racing with different PEVs.
Yeah.
Both like Surons, Recon bikes, Extreme Bull K5.
Now, are you racing for pinks out there? Or how does that work?
Pinks would be a little bit pricey at the moment. Maybe down the line we can do that. But current day, we're just doing it all for glory.
What types of ride do you guys usually go on?
It really varies, because we have a decent spread of what our riders are like. But as of recent, for our like core crew that rides the most consistent, we'll find ourselves doing a lot of like kind of street bike paths. We have a pretty awesome trail set out here where it's constantly like winding through. Almost everything's getting connected. It's maybe higher speed cruising and then maybe a little bit of technical stuff. If we have a couple guys that are really willing to do some off-roading, then we'll do some tighter single track. Out here, you see like a lot of our clips, you don't really see like big jumps or anything like that. It's just the dirt out here is not exactly optimal for being able to build giant things. So
Unless you want to build them out of lava rock.
Exactly. You build it out of lava rock, but the question is, how well will it hold? And the answer is, it won't.
I think that that's the type of jump you do one time.
Yeah, you do it once and then,
then you're done.
Yeah. Out here, you'll end up seeing with a single track, you'll see a lot of tight, like more agility requiring things, where there's rocks that are both sticking out of the ground and kind of just sitting and floating above. So it's kind of a constant question of, is this rock stuck here? We're constantly weaving through, and then we emphasize having like smaller like pedal sets where you won't clip on a pedal, and that makes a nice difference.
A skinnier kind of a pedal?
We like that kind of setup out here. But again, it's all per rider, whatever we're trying to do. But for a single track, it's it's definitely something where we encourage having higher and skinnier pedals just to not get stuck on things.
Well, listen, the Amped Electric Games is coming up in September, as you know. What's the event that you're most excited about?
Oh, for me, I definitely love seeing agility courses and racing. So let's see those things. I'm excited to see freaking Mike Leahy jumping a bus. That's going to be huge. Go to the Amped Electric Games. It's going to be a beautiful time. Honestly, you're not going to regret going. Bentonville, Arkansas, I'm seeing all these videos that you and I've looked at all the other people who are posting from that area, and the trails look awesome. I definitely want to make that happen and really get to visit. And
one thing I was going to ask you, I see you out here on all these trails and things, and you've got a street tire on your wheels.
So I can off-road with the street tire, which it's not anything out of question. It's a little bit suboptimal for certain situations, but what I do is I keep the street tire on the EXN for longer range and high speed type of things. My problem is with a knobby tire is you're not able to corner in the same way as you would a street tire. So I keep that there. I have the RS that's set up with the Shinko 241. Okay. So then you have some form of knobby that gets the job done and is my technical riding wheel. Along with that, I like the knobbies because having a knobby on your rim, it definitely protects it better and keeps it from getting cracked.
Yeah. Have you tried the 244?
244, I like it, but then I feel like I lose more range on that thing.
Oh, right, because it's so chunky.
Yeah, it's extra chunky.
The Shinko 244 is a very heavy tire.
Yeah.
I like it because it has that much rounder profile.
It does, yeah, because it's
Shinko.
Because it's more cross pattern. It's definitely a nicer time. As far as like people who want an all-around like street / off-roading tire, then that's when I usually tell them just to get the Shinko 244 and just call it a day.
That's why you have to have so many wheels. So you swap them out.
Exactly. Yeah. Get multiple wheels. N plus one is the best formula to follow, and being the amount of wheels that you currently have. So
repeating, of course.
Exactly.
From here, we're heading to see Nadia at Lake Cunningham, but then I'm off to Shredfest, and Chance is going to be racing downhill.
Excellent.
He's got a master.
Downhill will be good. It'll be good because it's going to absorb a lot of impact. I think the S22 downhill would be better, but as far as just regular riding, I'm sure the master would do just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot better than the RS, which is a little scary.
That's debatable. I would downhill race with an RS. Yeah, because what happens is you end up having that little bit of extra control and knowing exactly where the wheel is underneath you. So you can choose your contact patches on the ground, and you have legs for suspension, so that does its job on its own.
Yeah, I think that the thing that I've found with riding suspension wheels is getting in between the compressions and not being able to time it right.
Yeah, because if you bottom out in a bad timing, then that's asking for a bad day altogether. What I like with having an RS or something on the smaller scale without suspension is rather than lifting up, or rather than letting the wheel compress on that, then you kind of just jump at the base of a valley, and then allow for the wheel to land again at the next one, and you create some sort of like rhythm that makes more sense in maintaining speed. Something I am interested in paying attention to during that race is going to be how firmware affects people. So like with Gotway versus InMotion versus Kingsong, InMotion Kingsong, the pedals don't dip at all on the berms, so then you can keep accelerating on each berm. Yeah. Whereas Gotway, you can get the speed, but then you have to just cruise through it and coast. So then Gotway has more power on the straights that you can draw from, but then Kingsong and InMotion will let you hit the corners better. So it'll be fun seeing that mix.
Not to give away any race secrets here, but I like to go high on the berms and then cut back down, straight down them.
I do that because we're stuck with Gotways.
Because we're stuck.
But if I was gonna have fun and do things the way I wanted to, then I'd be taking that. Yeah, that's why I'm so excited for the S22. Hopefully we don't have any issues in the further runs, but again, if we have the S22 to be able to crank and have that little bit extra power in relation to previous 84 volt wheels, that'll make a nice difference getting through.
There's a few folks that I go to for advice, and they're all saying that the S22 is going to be the jumping wheel.
Yeah, for sure.
Just based on the suspension setup on it.
Yeah, because say like a lot of people that are comparing the S22 to the Master, the S22 is definitely feeling like it's going to be able to take infinitely more impact without having to worry about bottoming out as easy. And then with the Master, it handles beautiful as a street wheel. Say like for New York riding, where you'll find like minor potholes or like minor just regular bumps and just I guess just general bad street conditions. The Master's suspension will do great. On top of that, you have great acceleration and braking, which makes a nice difference. The S22, again, the suspension, it definitely works better for landing, but you don't notice it on the smaller things or smaller bumps as much.
So it sounds like what you're saying is if you're going to race, say, the Thunderdome, you probably want to go with like the S22.
That's what I'm going to personally try. I'll probably get both my RS and S22 shipped out there whenever it happens.
And then if you're going to race on the oval track,
then you have a higher likelihood on the Master. But again, it depends on how long your straight is, and there's so many different little factors that can go into it.
Somebody had mentioned at one point really leveling the playing field by putting a speed limit on everybody.
Speed limit? You could do that, but it's all situational. The only classes I can really see is having weight classes, because you put a 160-pound rider or like a 140-pound rider and you race them against 200. It's a completely different thing. Where again, if you're doing a full-on drag race, the 200-pound rider isn't going to be even close to handling and keeping up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like say like the Apple Valley race, it's definitely beneficial to be on the lighter side, especially for that little super long straight. And then again, cornering, it's better to be lighter because you're shifting less weight around to get around it. Yeah.
So all I can picture now is the jockeys coming out to do the weigh-in. They're all dressed and up there to do their weigh-in. I can just see everybody going up for the weigh-in. But
for bigger riders, though, I say like it is more like a technical type of deal. If you have to like lift a wheel or pick it up over something, then that's when the bigger riders will have that advantage, provided that the bigger rider is capable of jumping things and popping a wheel up easier.
The last time I was out here, you brought me to a special place. Do you want to tell people about that?
Oh, so we jokingly call it the or my crying spot for riders out here. It's literally just it's a gorgeous viewpoint, not far from the house. But again, it's something that we jokingly say that I go off to ride and express my feelings.
Hey guys, this was amazing. I love spending time with Law. It's great to be here in Vegas. Stay tuned because we're heading to see EUC Girl next. Thanks, Law.
Thank you.
See you next time. Actually, see you at Amped Electric Games.
Exactly. Go to Amped Electric Games. You'll love it. Labor Day weekend, be there.